Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Jacqueline Terrebonne, the editor-in-chief of Gallery magazine, and I'm thrilled to be joined today with a fantastic panel with Hunt Slonem, Ronni Nicole Robinson, and Nancy Lorenz. We're going to be talking about the artist is present. Collectors are buying you and your art for these artists, and we're going to talk about where the art world is now, where it's going, how it's evolved, changing, and a little bit about their careers, where they got started and where they are today. I'm thrilled to be talking about them because, you know, Gallery magazine is all about living artfully, and we love to hear about artists and what they're thinking, what they're making, what they're doing, and what's inspiring them. So I'd love to just kick it off with all of the panelists telling us about, you know, what made you start making art, and, you know, has this been a passion forever? Hunt, if you could answer first. We've talked about this before, and I know it goes way back for you.
Yes, I never didn't want to be an artist. I, you know, had a reaction to everything that I grew up around. My father was, and then, you know, in submarines, a career naval officer, and I kind of grew up with little models of Polaris submarines and missiles on our coffee tables. And my grandfather painted, and I just totally gravitated towards painting. He used to send me these amazing romantic things like cocoons of giant moths that would hatch in my closet when I was at school, and I'd come home, there'd be a huge Cecropian moth on my shoe. Anyway, there's just a magic implanted in me by my grandparents, and a love of art and a love of looking at things about artists. Picasso particularly affected me because he always bought these great chateaus and filled them up and locked the door and bought another one, and I've kind of followed that example. The studio's been a tremendous part of what my creativity is about. I have 7 historic homes now, and it's really, I do installations that are based on my studio and my painting. I paint every day, and I'm starting to do a lot of sculpture, and I'm doing glass and bronze sculpture too. But I just, there's no other world I want to be part of.
Right.
It's very, I'm kind of an isolating person, even though a lot of people think I'm not going. And so I get to do it alone and just sit there and be completely captivated every day by the new experience that I'm holding.
I love that started in childhood for you. Was it like that for you, Nancy? Were you from the
Definitely. I was always making things. My family moved to Tokyo from Texas when I was 13. And it was there that I really decided I wanted to become an artist. I was always visiting the studios of the artisans that, you know, were ever present, the National Living Treasures, the potter, the fabric master, the woodblock master. And, you know, I kind of would come home and want to try what they were doing. And I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out how to make whatever I saw. And then, yeah, and I was always wanting to make things in all mediums. So here I am.
That's incredible. What a great childhood and a great artistic upbringing. And what about for you, Ronni Nicole?
I would say I always wanted to be an artist, but it wasn't something I thought I would be able to do. I've always been fascinated and drawn to flowers since I was a child. I've collected flowers, started making herbariums before I understood what herbariums were. And it kind of grew, but like most college students, you know, you're told that you can't make a living as an artist. So I went to school and got my business degree, and I did try. I tried the corporate world and I failed. Then I got into the industry, the restaurant industry, and it was actually there that I was able to do my artwork. My friend Allison, she has a company called Artists in the Industry, and it's just, as many people know, like people work in a restaurant, they're artists, they're actors. So she wanted to create a platform just for them. So she would do events, and that's when I I did the event with her and all my pieces sold. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I could do this for a living. And I would say things kind of took off, but it was just a lot of work. And I just didn't know that this was something that I was going to be, have the privilege to do. And here I am now.
Wow.
Doing it.
Great. So do you remember the first piece you ever sold and, the story behind that and who bought it? Like, was that just etched in your memory?
Yes. So I had a table, and the first person that came to my table was Roxanne. I worked with her in Martha's Vineyard. We were servers together, and she came to the event and she was like, oh my God. And she bought a piece, and that was my first piece I ever sold. And then 10 more people came to the table and bought pieces. But it was the first piece I made. It was the first piece I sold. So it was a good moment.
That's so special. And Nancy, do you remember that moment for you?
I remember the first thing I sold, oh gosh, when I was in college, I also tried to sell something at an art fair. We had our own tables, and I remember the experience. I sold something. I sold these little watercolors for $100. They were interiors. Even then I was interested in interiors. So, but I remember mostly not liking the experience of selling it myself. I realized, like, no, I'd much rather have galleries do this for me because I wanted the buffer. So that was my first experience. And then later, I remember the experience of having someone, a really great collector, Beth DeWoody, bought something of mine when I first moved to New York, and it was such validation to be in her collection early on.
Oh, that's great. And Hunt, do you remember your first sale? And who it went to?
I do. It was when I was very, very young, and I was working at Play-Doh, and neighbor, and she was a big gardener, and I was always into that. But anyway, she paid me a nickel for this sculpture. I remember wanting to give her
Best purchase she ever made.
I know. I hope she has it under some sort of vitrine or cloche and is saving it. Popular.
Geek experience with sales. I was in a show called Saints at a gallery in Tribeca called Harmburg Art Gallery.
Oh yeah.
I'd gone away for the summer to paint a painting of San Martin de Porres. I'd just come back from Peru, and actually wanted to do Rose of Lima. But they said, no, she's taken, you can do San Martin de Porres. And the museum bought the painting I did of San Martin de Porres on his Saints Day out of a group show. And that was really an amazing miracle for me.
Oh, that's great. And then how are things working for, I feel like so much has shifted during COVID. People are rethinking the way they sell things or how series are launched or even like the whole fair model. How has that affected your thinking and how you're selling pieces? Hunt, like, is there something new you're working on, or how are you releasing different series or bodies of work now?
Well, I just have a lot of shows all the time. Some are virtual. I have a Roscoe Museum in Latvia right now. I was not able to go, but it's an installation with furniture and wallpapers and my paintings. It's really great. So things have continued to go on in spite. Some have been delayed or made virtual. I just have people reach out to me all the time. It's not that we're launching things. I have started this series of glass works, which are being promoted a little bit, and that's something new, and they've been doing very nicely, and it's wonderful to have a new medium other than painting. But there's just a lot of activity. Nothing's been hindered by this. In fact, it's been almost more intense because you have so much more time to create, and there seems to be as much, if not more, interest because everybody else is locked up looking at their walls. So a lot of internet stuff that's been pretty major, and just just things just keep popping. I don't know, it's great. I mean,
you
it's hard.
always have a busy schedule. There's always a global list of launches and events for you. I'm always fascinated by it.
International. You know, we sold a painting in Jakarta, and England's been really good lately. Greece, so we have a new gallery in Lebanon, Singapore. I mean, it's a whole lot of things. I can't say any single one is the main thing, but just the outreach is, I don't know what's happening. I believe it's our hands, and the intensity of keeping going helps. I mean, some people have noticed some people are not as motivated at this time, but I certainly have.
And you've even had a mask. I know your mask that you have with the bunnies on it have been hot tickets. It's hard to get one of those. They've been sold out from the second you announced the little mask with the bunny.
Oh my God, I would love one of those.
I know, me too. Can't get them.
Well, thank you for noticing.
Of course.
That's just my product. So.
I know. And Nancy, what about you? How's it changed or shifted for you during this time?
Well, let's see. I mean, this whole experience that we're doing right now is totally new for me. So that's, you know, interesting. I think it reaches a whole new audience. I get to hang out with Hunt and Ronni, and I wouldn't have done that otherwise, which is super fabulous. You know, the jury's still out what it's going to actually do, all this online stuff. You know, I don't know that people will buy work online, and I'm super curious. A gallery that represents me, Goblet Gallery, is launching this. They're in this Untitled Art Fair, which happens. It opens today. I think the previews
today.
The previews today, and I scrolled online, and you know, you walk. It's supposed to be. You're supposed to feel like you're in this fair, and it's great for this moment. It's perfect for this moment, so that you can wander through the fair and, you know, add to cart, I guess. But, you know, are people going to really do that? I don't know. I mean, are they going to really buy something? Unless they already know the artist, right? Right. You know, are you going to buy a painting for $10,000 without actually seeing it? I mean, my work is it's the materials. It's you know, you want to see it up close, and you want to look at it with different lights, and you're not supposed to touch it, but you kind of want to. I don't know what the future is with that, but I think ultimately it's going to be a hybrid. I think, you know, we'll mix all this expanded technology with small salons, you know, when we can get back together in small groups, 10 people to the studio. You know, I'm looking forward to that kind of merging the two. The technology and then the more intimate experience.
One of my last art experiences before this was going to the Armory show and seeing your beautiful pieces in the art company booth there.
Exactly. So yeah, that was the last time. Yeah, we were all out.
This is the last time we're all out. And then what about for you? I know you have a lot of people who come and visit you in the studio and really work with you on projects. Are you having one-on-one moments like that still, or are you working with people just
very slowly? I had a designer I love working with, Michael Smith, came by the other day on his way somewhere else, and he, you know, we kind of ran through 5 projects in 25 minutes, and it was so great just to be back, you know, have a real person to talk to here. So it goes on. But then there's also the virtual. I've been like Hunt, I'm just getting to start a glass project, and we're doing that with a company in Portland, and we just had our first Zoom meeting yesterday. So we're just going to exchange samples and things via mail, and you know, I'd love to be in Portland, but in the meantime, we'll do it by mail and by Zoom.
Yeah. And speaking of Michael Smith, I mean, those mirrors that you worked with him at Majorelle, I think are so beautiful. Those pieces that so many people could, you know, when you go to restaurants, experience those and see your work up close like that and how it enlivens a space. I think it's so special.
That was a fun project. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Ronni, what about for you? How have things changed? How have things, changed for the better or surprised you in the way the whole thing works?
I'm a lot like Nancy. I don't really like to sell in person, so this has been great.
Personal, I'm sure.
Honestly, I've always started online, so it hasn't really been a transition for me. I built my community up all online basically, so nothing's really changed, and we're living out in the middle of nowhere, so social distance is pretty much our lifestyle.
Yeah.
We talk to our neighbors. I'm like from over the fence, and it's pretty far away. We all have like a few acres, so this is really about the same for me. I've been really lucky that I have a really good community. They really do advocate for me. They invest in my work. They share it with everyone. They buy it just for their for gifts. So it really hasn't changed anything for me. So if anything, it's helping me realize that I've been going in the right direction.
Oh, that's great. And how does your community grow? When you talk about that, is it a social media community? How do you connect with, your collectors? Is it that way, or are there other ways? You can't.
So in the beginning, I did do a lot of art shows. I wasn't particularly in love with it. I'm not really a in-person. Ask me a lot of questions. I'm pretty shy, so I don't really like that interaction. Or I don't like attention. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Because you really have to sell at a fair. It's like
yes. And I would think that I would be really good at it because I did work in restaurants and I was a server, so you have to sell. But I'm not selling my stuff. I'm selling someone else's. That I can do. But for me, it was really hard. So
different than your work.
Yes. But the way I grew online was just person to person. Someone buys something, and then that person starts to follow me, and then they buy a gift for someone else, and it just kind of went that way. And I had some really great people in my corner who picked me up like really early on, about the first year that I started, and shared my work. I mean, basically, anytime they were in the presence of an editor for a magazine or a designer, they were like, Nicole, flower, floral plaster reliefs, and it's just that's the kind of community I have on my social media. They're just very much, they want me to succeed.
Yeah.
I've been very picky in how I grow my community because I don't want anyone who's just coming for a little while. I want someone who is, buying pieces that for their kids that they haven't had yet, for their homes. I want a relationship for a really long time. So I try to keep things very small. I don't like to make a lot of pieces all at once. I want people to be patient. I want to teach people to slow down. So I think people gravitate to that, and they want a little part of that for themselves.
And then do you find it clear for yourself, like what your social media presence is, like who you are on your Instagram, or is that something that you struggle with, or are you just like happy and it feels very natural to you?
The day I started with my artwork was the day I was most honest and critical of myself. And I just decided that I was just going to be me all the time. The good, the bad, parts that maybe people don't like that much is okay. I'm not really trying to I'm not really even trying to grow right now, I'm just trying to like create and just be my best self. So I'm only looking for a community that's okay with that.
Right. And Nancy, how about you? How's your social media? Is that something that's important to you? Is that how you connect with collectors, or do you have other ways that you prefer?
In terms of connecting with collectors, the primary way I do is through the galleries and through the designers that I work with. So I really leave that up to them. Sarah Godlock has a great presence, PDX. And so I kind of let them do the heavy lifting, and then I can fill in with, oh, this is what's on my drawing table today. And I'm not exactly trying to sell that thing that I post on Instagram.
Right.
It's more like, well, this is my messy studio, and here's my bicycle that I rode over the bridge today. And so it just, maybe it fills in the story a little bit. But for me, I mean, I like Instagram for just the, you know, I connect to some of my friends and the designers I work with. Kind of, I don't know, I'm still figuring it out. I have no idea.
It's great to get a look inside your studio. It's such a special place, and there are so many different techniques and things going on there.
Want me to give you a tour?
Yeah, just give us a little a
Let me
glimpse.
I'll flip the camera and I'll make it quick because, there's the quick tour. Woo, drawing, lots of drawing.
It's very
Oh, wow.
These are some panels for a elaborate, well, it's a bar.
gorgeous.
Some dining room panels in progress.
Oh my goodness.
So beautiful.
This is all very recent, obviously. More mess. This is kind of, this is sort of the heart of all my collaborations with designers. This is my,
You have a whole shelf of them. That is amazing.
it's a library of past larger commissions.
So many textures and techniques. I love
And
it.
then the boxes, which are in company, has been featuring,
Gorgeous.
anyway.
I love the boxes.
No,
I just watched Hunt's Gallery. It was amazing.
Let's see. Let me flip
I love
it
that
back.
everyone has big spaces.
I know.
I feel very lucky. This is, I moved.
I can't believe you're in New York, and this is in New York.
Yeah,
This is
you're in Long
Queens.
Island City.
It's in Queens, but yeah, it's my dream studio. I've been, I worked hard to, get this, years and years of
I'm sure.
saving, and yeah, this is my dream studio. Here we are.
I've only been there at night. It's so different to see it during the day and the light flooding through than, you know, candlelight and cocktails. So
Remember? We'll get back to that.
yeah.
You're all invited. You're all invited.
And Hunt, what about you? You're out there on social media and posting. Are you connecting through a lot of collectors that way? Is that important to your?
You know, most of my sales are through galleries and private.
Yeah.
I told you I had an elevator problem here.
Yeah.
Private dealer today that sent people over 3 o'clock. They walked up 6 flights of stairs. They couldn't believe it.
Lean it a little closer. I can't hear you.
I said we had a couple come to visit me today. We don't have many visitors. Almost everything's done through galleries. Everything is shipped out of here. We have, especially since COVID, I have practically no visitors whatsoever. It's just me and the people that I work with, making things, shipping things. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay. So it's been very isolating. You know, I live with 60 birds and I have a jungle here. And my environment is very important to my art making, but I'm not sharing it a great deal at this point. I used to have large dinner parties, as you remember, in the past, and I really miss that, but it's not safe now. So I'm kind of trying to readjust. I'm a dinosaur. I don't even know how to turn on a computer. That's how bad I am.
Well, I'm happy you're here with us today.
I know.
I figured it out for you.
Yes.
Before I did, because
Allison did. But I mean, I get emails on my phone. I'm so out of this century. It's scary sometimes.
Well, your studio is so special and so unique to you, and it's like being inside your mind in a way with all the treasures that you have there, all your collections and the birds. And how many square feet is it? I always like forget the number.
30,000 altogether.
Oh my God.
But I also, I have an armory as well in Pennsylvania, which is a whole city block. It's 150,000 square feet. And it's, I do sort of installations of spaces. I just am like this glutton for space, and repurposing things as kind of museums or time travel spaces. It's all very metaphysical. I work with Ghostbusters. I work with channelers. A lot of my work is channeled, and we actually speak to people that I paint. You wouldn't believe some of the names. I don't want to drop them because it sounds fake, but it's all very real. But there's this other worldly element to what I do, and it's not very plugged in, but people that I work with are able to decipher some of it and document it and share it with others. But you want to know the truth? I've never seen my Instagram.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it right now.
No, you don't have to.
Oh, I already did. I've been following him since I got on Instagram.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you.
I've been following you forever.
This one right here. It's so big I can barely hold it up.
Oh
But
my
anyway,
gosh.
you know, I love doing
spaces,
books
they're
and
amazing.
projects, and I've had some really wonderful experiences lately with museums and doing installations with the different aspects of what I do. And just did something growing up at the Taubman, and I've done things all over Russia. I had a show, Catherine the Great's Marble Palace. Just all kinds of fun international things. But I feel like I feel like I'm in a new world. I feel like we're not going to be traveling. I don't feel I don't want to be negative because I'm sure anything's possible and there may be a cure 5 minutes from now. But I think it's the time to turn inside and, like you were saying, I've always been involved with birds and plants and watching things grow and, and just enjoying nature more. I think the biggest boon from this whole thing has been that we are using less fossil fuels, and nature has never been more beautiful. Mm-hmm. I go upstate every weekend and I feel like I'm in a different country. It has never looked like this before. It's so green, and it hasn't even been raining a lot. There's just and we have a 12-point stag or whatever it's called, the thing with the big horns.
Yeah.
On the island on my lake upstate. We just saw owls that were like huge things. We saw a black panther go across the street near my house.
Oh my God.
It's one of the most thrilling experiences. My partner and I just sat there, could not believe that this black, I've heard of them in Louisiana. That's rumored that they still exist. And we've heard stories of sightings, but we actually saw this. Everybody said, oh no, it wasn't. Well, we Googled it. There've been other sightings because of the tail size. It was a panther, it wasn't a bobcat.
Oh my gosh.
So nature is such a great source of return to what it once was. I mean, we've fully deforested and hunted things to, the carrier pigeon, the last single one died in the St. Louis Zoo in 1900 or something. It used to blacken the sky for 5 miles. They were so prolific. So I feel like we're having a chance, dolphins are coming back, the cruise ships not coming to Venice have made a huge difference in that land. We're being given a second chance to really enjoy a nature that I've never seen before like this in my lifetime, and I'm pretty old.
and Ronni, you're out in nature too right now, right?
Yes, I mean, I agree with him. Everything is a lot different than it was last year. Like, we've seen a lot more, everything seems to be in balance. We have our rabbits, we have less frogs. Last year we had so many frogs. But there's something else there now that's eating the frogs, which is a good thing because now we're not overwhelmed with them. But everything is in balance, and I am so appreciative. I know this COVID thing is really awful, but it's creating balance, and it might just be necessary.
And you've always been connected to nature in your work, but do you feel like it's coming out even more? Are you experiencing new things, or?
I am. I mean, this is what we came here for. I mean, before here, we were living in a 650 square foot apartment, in Center City. And it was great, but there was no nature. Only way you would find nature is through the cracks coming through the concrete. Other than that, it was just, you know, it was just city blocks. And now I have trees, I have like grass, and you like walk outside with my shoes off. It's fantastic. Everyone loves their gardens here. Everyone's working outside. I mean, I can't ask for more. We have farms here, all kinds of animals, a horse farm down the street. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And you're in Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm, Bucks County.
Beautiful.
We love it. We love it. Like I wish I did this a long time ago.
And are you growing flowers there?
We're growing our own flowers. It is definitely a long game.
Okay.
No one tells you that, really. Like it's like art, you know, it's the long game. You plant things and not everything works. We had a really late freeze in May. I'm not sure if everyone remembers that, but May we had a late freeze and it killed a lot of our flowers. Some things came back, but we do have our garden area that I absolutely love. I get all my flowers from there, but I'm learning to use also what was already here, whether it's weeds or invasive plants. I'm using all of it. I'm learning a lot about plants right now in a way I've never tried to before. Especially because I get to see them in their different life phases. Right. Which is really cool.
Really watch it, slow it down.
Yes. You, like,
real slow.
Slows everything down.
Yeah. And Nancy, how are you experiencing nature right now? Is that?
Well, I have a pesky raccoon that has invaded my back storage space. Other than that, no, actually, seriously, I've got so I've got this little walkway out in back of my studio, and I'm going to design a garden, and started putting some plants back there, and I'm going to make some cast some cement stones, kind of like a Japanese rock garden.
Right.
So, and I'm casting some things in bronze that will be a continuation of my fountain series. So that'll be out back. But, you know, I kind of have to create my own nature here.
Hunt has a whole garden inside of his place, his studio.
Yeah, I'll ride my bike over and come visit.
And you recently did a whole beautiful installation in a garden. Was that show?
Yes. That was this time last year at the Berkshire Botanical Garden. And that was an opportunity to use what they were growing in the gardens and bring it inside. And so I had a Ikebana master come and do take clippings from the garden and do a performance during the opening. He did arrangements in and amongst my bronze sculptures, which was really just surprising and beautiful. But it was in the backdrop was all my paintings in this beautifully restored 18th century building. And so you had the outside, and bringing the outside in is something that is an ongoing theme in my work. It's something that I saw a lot in Japan, and it continues.
So beautiful. So I want to ask all of you, like, when you're creating your art, like, do you feel like you have a certain collector who's drawn to your work? Do you have someone in your mind, or does that not even come into play? Or later when you see who's buying your work, do you know, is there's that connection where you see a certain type of person or why they're drawn to what you do? No.
I mean, I would never paint something like, I mean, unless it's a commission.
Right.
But even that, the commissions are kind of, are really, the way the commissions work are basically somebody sees something that they like in my studio, but would like to do it larger. You know, it's not like they're dictating what, so I don't have the collector in mind when I make my work. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
And then do you ever see like a thread in like the sort of collector who likes, you're like, oh, of course they love nature, they're drawn to shiny things, they always have beautiful jewelry on, so of course they would.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, also though, you can be totally surprised, you know, you really can't, I can't predict who's gonna buy my work at all. That, again, it's not really my job. I'm happy making it and happy not knowing, like, you know, but I'm always pleasantly surprised that somebody actually wants to buy it. So.
And how about you, Hunt? How does that work for you and your collectors?
I don't think of it. The only thing I like it when collectors think of me, like I came back, I was on a plane to Louisiana where I have 3 places, and I'm into greenhouses, and I've been growing orchids since I was a kid in Hawaii. And that's a big part of my this whole conservatory, indoor, outdoor garden thing. Right now at Belterre, we're enclosing the picnic pavilion and starting this giant winter garden, and I've enclosed corridors, and I'm very into the summer winter garden. Another story. But anyway, I love it when collectors think of projects for me. Like I got to do the Bryant Park Grill when a million years ago. I got to do this 86-foot painting, which I never would have thought of. I love doing large scale things. I was thought of recently, I got to do a 24-foot metal sculpture for a butterfly park in Louisiana, which was one of the thrills of my life. And the things that I've seen in this park are just unbelievable. So it's really wonderful when a project comes to you. I did the Hamilton in Washington, D.C., and I got to do this whole room, and there were the loveliest people. They had seen something of mine and came to me and flew me down, and just great financially, and it was a great, huge experience. I did things at the World Trade Center when I was hired under the Cultural Council Foundation Artists Project. So big scale projects. Even under that, I got to do paintings of saints for churches. I do portraits occasionally. That's very challenging.
I'm sure it is.
I love doing it, but it's so hard to please people. Anyway, so I don't really think of collectors at all when I'm working, and things just happen. I love the book, The Dream of Life and How to Play It by, what's her name? Florence Scovel Shinn. Her husband was Everett Shinn, the painter. And in the book, they talk about the simplest thing you do will often be the thing that takes off. For me, it's been the rabbit. I mean, these were just not throwaways, but little studies. And I started putting them on walls, and the walls became the rabbit wall, and they became other things. And now other people are wanting rabbit walls. I've sent walls of hundreds of them to princesses here and there and everywhere. I'm not bragging at all. I'm just saying that
no, you should.
Takes on. No, I'm not, because it doesn't mean anything to me. You know, I just sit there and paint them. I wanted to cry the other day. You know, people sometimes want you and you're already committed to something and piss people off. And I just said, all I want to do is sit here and paint. I don't want to have these dialogues and these legal things to worry about, you know? Anyway, I think we worked through it, but I don't think of clients at all. I just think I'm a series painter. I do things over and over and over again for years and years and years and years. I've painted the same images of certain saints and Lincolns and whatever forever. And new things come in. I'm entering a phase where new things are starting to fly, and it's great. New ideas, new medium. So I'm feeling a little bit of a renaissance here. But I just do what I do, and people pick it or not.
Yeah. Well, what I love about the bunny
myself, you know, I love being around my work, fortunately.
Yeah. I love about the bunnies, you say they're simple, but I feel like when you look at them, each one is an individual and has, you know, like that's a mischievous bunny, or that's a happy bunny, or that, you know, like they have these characters, even though the lines are quite simple, there's like a personality and a connection there that's so special to your work.
You know, they just happen, and it's, you know, just part of my ritual of my life and my daily routine. And I've been so fortunate to be able to perpetuate that. But big things are what I want to do next. I love these things that, you know, I've done hospitals lately. And when you get feedback that your work has healed people, that people are, pregnant women have bought my work a great deal, and then they hang a painting in front of the child who's smiling at this thing.
Oh, that's a great connection.
Kylie Kardashian hung a funny painting. I didn't even know she owned it. I don't know what. Anyway, but I talk a lot of that. So my purpose really is to try to bring some joy to others, and I hope that I've done that in a small way.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you definitely do. And Ronni, what about for you and your collectors? Do you see a thread between them, or do you know what they're really drawn to, or is that shape your vision at all, or are you just doing your own thing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm a lot younger, not in age with Hunt and Nancy, but as far as the journey of their artwork, I've only been doing this for 40. But like I've only been doing this for a couple of years, so I'm still in this this beginner phase of it, and I do think about the type of client or the clientele I want. One of my first big commissions was for Sarah Winard. She's a florist, and one of the things she said was to imagine what your clients, where do they live? What did their home look like? What do they do in their time off? And I think about those things almost in the same way when you like gardeners love to show off their flowers. They love to bring people and show off their flowers. So I think of it that way, and I feel like that's our connection between me and the client. I think about what their garden might look like. It's all imagination in my mind, and I imagine no one's garden looks the way like my pieces do, because I'm putting flowers together that wouldn't grow together. But it's just, I think of those things I do.
And have you ever been, surprised where your work has ended up, or someplace you're like, oh, I never thought of it or saw it that way?
I would say yes. I mean, people usually people have ideas.
Yeah.
They'll tell me like, oh, you should do something where you can do a panel of pieces, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that is something I could do. Yes. Like you don't really think about it because I'm just kind of like in my work, and I'm not, I'm being creative, but I'm being very like stubborn too at the same time. But I do. I think that my community really helps me evolve.
Yeah.
They spark ideas that I should do, and I do attempt them and I try them.
And how about for you, Nancy? You work with so many talented designers. How have they pushed you, or how have they come up with, you're like, I guess I could do that, but sure.
Yeah, no, the designers I work with definitely made my world bigger. That's for sure. I have two sides to my work. One where I make work that shows in exhibitions and galleries, and then the other side is I work with designers. And the designer work really pushes me. And like Hunt, I wouldn't have thought of doing a double height round rotunda painting for a designer named Bill Georges. That I wouldn't have thought of that myself. That was Bill's vision of how to turn, this little painting that he saw in the studio. What if we took this and made it into this double height round entrance hall and private residence? So that was his imagination, knowing that I would just say yes, bigger, better, more, just make it bigger, and I'll do it. So, and then, the other thing is, I'm also have been always curious about new materials. So when a designer named Bill Sofield suggested I, come up with an idea for some elevator doors at the Steinway building, which is being built here on 57th and 7th. That led me to the whole world of bronze and bronze casting. So I wouldn't have made these, I had to make some samples. And so I found a foundry nearby, a sculptor named Malcolm McDougall, who's up in Dobbs Ferry. And we started, he started teaching me how how bronze works. So in those, both in materials and in scale, working with the designers has been really, exciting and stretches my work in ways that I really love.
And you named two bills, Sofield and George's, and both of them come up with some pretty amazing things. Like if someone's going to push you, you want to be pushed by one of those two.
They love incorporating art and artists into their projects. And they're also willing to take the leap. Like it's not, it's sort of like, I have this idea, but they know it's not going to be exactly what they thought of. It's going to be, they let the artist be the artist in the project.
Fantastic. And have you had some collaborations like that, Hunt, that pushed you and took you to some place you didn't expect to be?
Yes, I have, mostly through sculpture, the large I've done in Louisiana. I hadn't really had a lot of experience other than wooden maquettes that I do in the studio. And then I had an opportunity to do these large-scale metal painted pieces. I have one on the Veterans Highway in Louisiana of toucans, which is an image I've worked with a great deal in my life. And
I know that one. I've seen that one quite often in my life.
Oh, thank you. I have about 9 of them altogether now. But anyway, so that was just a whole new world, and now I'm doing this blown glass that's amazing. In terms of working with people for paintings, I do get challenges periodically through designers. I had a 32-foot commission in Dallas, 20 feet in the air, and it had a lot of components that I thought of seeing the space. It was site specific, and I kind of rose to the occasion. I've had other subject matter challenges. Somebody wanted me to do 26 chickens that they own. But it was very big.
26, exactly 26.
I don't remember. I actually but it was fun, and it was a new thing, and I don't work with farm animals very much. It was
no animals, no children.
Exactly. No, I tried to do children. I'm just not. I've been able to unroll all my early works at the Armory, and I went through a phase where all these mystics were telling me I should paint children, but it was not a success.
Well, I'd love to open this up for people to ask us questions. We'd be delighted to answer them. And I already have one up here for you, Hunt. And it goes along with what you were just talking about. And you touched on it before. But, where does your love for birds, bunnies, and butterflies come from?
Childhood. I mean, I just grew up loving birds. I used to have some pets. We moved a lot, so I had to kind of let go of a lot of things. I actually was able to indulge myself with a finch collection in New York in the 70s, when I made a little bit of money from some prints, and I think I had 90 pairs of exotic finches, which I wind up painting. And I call them all working animals because Audubon killed everything he painted, sometimes quite a few, and I'm a slave to mine. The upkeep on my animals.
And how many birds do you have now?
I can't even imagine. I don't know.
30?
More. I have them at one of my houses now too. But it's just a lot of work, and I've had some of them for 45 years, so they're like my children,
Yeah.
But anyway, what were we talking about?
Your love for the birds and bunnies and
where did it come from? Well, I was fascinated with butterflies as a child, and I'm embarrassed and horrified to admit that I collected them. I used to hang a light bulb outside of my bedroom window, hoping a Luna moth would show up sometime, but it never did. And then when I was in India taking a course at an ashram, I found a great Indian Luna on the ground when we had a little break. These things just excite me like opera. I mean, it's just the most exciting experience to know of these forms and to see my first morpho butterfly I saw on coffee plantations in Nicaragua when I was an exchange student. And that experience of seeing these things in the wild has fed me all these years.
Right.
When we were at the family's cotton plantation, there was a stream and there were thousands of butterflies perched along the water. Each one was more exotic and more special than the next. I know what most of them were, but it was just, who has these experiences anymore?
No, I mean, you've been lucky to have them, and they've shaped you with
Etched in
your
my
art in such
mind,
beautiful ways.
you know.
I have a question for you, Ronni, from Brendan Von Enck. And do you ever take commissions, or does your art just come to you? And when is your next collection being released?
I do take commissions. It's just right now I am working on my summer collection from my garden, and I am one of those people who can only do one thing at a time.
Okay.
I really wish I could, you know. I am looking to get to the level that Hunt and Nancy are. You know, lots of space, and you have, you know, you can do a lot of things at the same time. So I will be doing commissions. I usually try to do them in the winter. It's just a little bit easier during that time. In the summertime, I have to tend to the garden, and it's just a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So my undivided attention needs to be on the garden so that I can use the flowers for my artwork. And my next collection, as far as plaster pieces, won't be until next year.
Okay. Okay. And then,
I will have paper though, and they're paper reliefs, so it's a different version of my reliefs. It's just a different material.
incredible. I have a question for you, Nancy, from Stacy Nixon. How did you begin working with designers? Was it an organic process or something you pursued?
It was an organic process for sure. When I first moved to New York, I supported myself by restoring Asian antiques. And it was during those visits with designers that were, so actually this goes back to Bill Sofield. It's mentioned twice in 1 hour. I was restoring Asian antiques, and I was restoring them for Ralph Lauren. And Bill at that time was working for Ralph, and he was checking in on some chinoiserie, a chinoiserie chest of drawers. And then, but I had all my artwork in the, you know, I was living and working in all the same space. And so I said, oh, maybe we could use some of this, you know, for some other projects. Then a few years later, we ended up moving right next. I moved, and Aero Studios moved, and I was looking through my window into his office, and I said, Bill, you know, I'm right next door. Send me every piece of furniture you have, and I'll do something with it. And then one thing led to the other, and we started doing these big commissions together. But he was my first, and then one thing led to the other. So I've always kept both going. I've always kept these design commissions going, and then similarly, you know, having exhibitions. I had a mid-career survey at the San Diego Museum of Art 2 years ago. So it's the balance, you know, and I think that's what's been interesting.
That's incredible. I have a question for everyone from Lisa McMahon, and she says, first of all, wonderful conversation, clearly. Such magical worlds, but are any of the artists working on new books, and are they having Zoom studio tours now that galleries are closed? Any new books?
New books?
New books. Hunt, you always have a new book.
I'm doing an artist catalog, so yes, new book.
That's exciting. When will that be released, or when is that happening?
It'll be released at closer to the end of the year.
Okay. And anything from you, Nancy? You always do such beautiful books too.
I'm revisiting a project I had done. I made a drawing for each of the elements in the periodic table of elements, and I've been revisiting that. I've been making plates for an art book, you know, a limited edition.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my, you know, let's go back to science, shall we? So that's one of my little side projects. But what was the other question? I can't remember.
Are you doing Zoom studio?
Oh,
tours?
Zoom.
Are
Well,
you
here we are. This is it.
But like,
Yeah.
do you do them one-on-one with collectors ever? Like, sort of
yeah.
set in person?
I guess I would be open to it. I mean, my preference would be to have it coordinated with someone representing the collector.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really, unless I know them already, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about for you, Hunt? Any books or Zoom studio tours?
I've had Zoom studio tours for shows that I've had. That seems to be the new wave of communicating. And I'm working on a portrait book that will probably be out next spring. I've never done a portrait book. It's include my paintings of saints and other things as well. And then I'm working on kind of this overall survey book with different writers for a Spanish publisher that'll probably be out in a year. So I have two major book projects that I'm working on, but with COVID and all of the uncertainty, we're not sure of exact release dates at the moment, but we're still working hard on them, and they're not off at all. I have new catalogs all the time too. I have them for the Rothko Museum, which I haven't even seen yet. They haven't been delivered. Anyway, so there's always something being printed, and I love working on books. It's one of my passions. I really enjoy it, and it helps you to kind of look at what you've done in a way that you can't otherwise through photograph and collecting various pieces of documentation that you probably haven't even seen. So we're always looking at research possibilities to add to these projects. Things I haven't laid eyes on in 40 years, things like that.
Great. This has been such a wonderful conversation. Hunt, Nancy, Ronni, it's inspiring to talk to you about what's happening now, how you're keeping your creativity going. It's really an inspiration. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's joined us. And, if you're not familiar with Gallery Magazine, please check out or go to our website, gallerymagazine.com. We've definitely done stories with Hunt and Nancy before, and they're online and fantastic. And Ronni, I'm so inspired by you. We're gonna have to collaborate and cook something up really special soon. So
yes,
work on
please.
that. So thank you everyone so much.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Come ride your bike
Bye.
on over.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.